everybody, welcome to Be Built by Broser. On today's show I want to talk about unilateral training, unilateral movements, and what Dave and I discussed that we want to do is we actually want to show you some of our favorite single-limbed movements for every body part. Today we're going to show you some movements for the biceps and the triceps, and I'm going to try to show some movements that are not the basic movements, the movements that everybody pretty much knows. Show things that are a little bit more creative, cable movements, dumbbell movements, that kind of stuff. Something that'll help you, maybe break out of a stagnated state, build up the lagging muscles, and then of course we'll finish off the show with some Ask Merlin questions. And one of the reasons why I love doing unilateral movements, which we pretty much conclude at least one in every workout, is because doing one arm at a time or one leg at a time helps you to focus better on that side of the body, which helps with a couple of things. First of all, if you have a strength imbalance on one side of the body, this will help you to rid yourself of that strength imbalance, because when you do two arms or two legs at a time, usually the stronger side will take over for the weaker side. Also, it's been shown that doing unilateral movements increases nerve force, which gives you a stronger contraction on the side that you're working. So it's important to include unilateral movements, at least one of them in every single workout, for optimal development and for balances on both sides of the body. Okay, so for the first movement, love to do this movement, a unilateral bicep curl from an upper cable. As you can see, he's leaning his torso to the side, and he's actually trying to pull to the side of his head or slightly behind his head. This position is excellent for hitting the inner portion of the biceps because the arm is away from the body. It's away from the torso rather than in front. This is a great isolation movement for the biceps, also for the brachialis as well. As you can see, it's really working the peak really well. And you have to keep this movement really strict. There can't be any shoulder movement. You want to initiate the movement with the biceps and the brachialis only and get a good squeeze at the top, full range of motion, stretching all the way out. Okay, so this next movement is also done on a cable. As you can see, the setup here. And this is basically like a cable concentration curl. Now the advantage to doing this with a cable, obviously over a dumbbell, is there is tension throughout the lift, all the way from stretch to full contraction. Now because his arm is now held closer to the body, he's working a little bit more on the outside or the outer portion of the bicep rather than the inner. This is a great alternative to the basic seated concentration dumbbell curl. I feel you can get a better squeeze and a better contraction than with the dumbbell, but of course we like to mix up our training with both dumbbells, cables, and machines. Great movement. Okay, this next unilateral movement done on the cable as well. It's something that I call a concentration pushdown because it's very similar to a concentration curl, but obviously instead of flexing the arm, you're extending the arm to work the tricep. As you can see, the movement, he keeps his elbow locked in place, his shoulder locked in place, and all he's doing is squeezing from a full stretch to a full contraction, and is making sure to hold the bottom for a moment. This really works the entire tricep complex, all three heads, very strongly. It's a great isolation movement, and it feels somewhat unique as compared to a regular push down. So give this one a try. I think it's a great way to finish off a tricep workout. Okay, so the last movement we're going to show you today, unilateral, is for the triceps again. And this is a lying single arm dumbbell extension, which I actually prefer to the barbell extension. You get a better, fuller range of motion. You can go all the way down by the side, all the way to the ear to get a full stretch on the triceps. You're using a hammer grip with the dumbbell, which I also feel works the triceps a little bit more strongly. As you can see, again, shoulder in place, elbow in place, no movement anywhere else except at the elbow, squeezing up to the top. This movement is great for building mass and great for rebalancing imbalances on both sides of the body. Give this one a shot for triceps if you're lagging some thickness, especially in the mid-head. Hey guys, I really just want to give a quick shout out to our good friend Silvio Samuel, who now has his picture up on the wall here at Gold's Gym Venice. We're very proud of you, Silvio. This has been a long time coming. It's well deserved. Can't wait to see what you're going to do this year in the open class. And again, congratulations from Dave and I and Jay Cutler, everybody at Gold's, for getting up on the wall. That's a great accomplishment, and you got many more to come, buddy.
Big E.
Yes.
We are back with Ask Merlin Monday. What's going on this week?
Yep, Ask Merlin Monday.
Yep.
Got a question from my better half, Kim Bridges. I'm glad she asked this question because we're starting to revolve around into contest season. So everybody's interested in burning body fat. She wanted to know, for contest prep, aside from the general over-the-counter fat burners, which I'm guessing she probably means like the stimulants, are there other natural, compounds that will aid in some way in burning body fat, helping you get into shape? And actually, there's one that I want to talk about specifically when I looked at that question this morning, and that's, again, first let's just quickly go over, the stimulant fat burners work well for a lot of people. Some people overuse them, that's a problem. Some people use them in too high of dosages, which can cause, issues with the heart. It can cause, rapid heartbeats. It can cause, anxiety. That's a problem. Some people use them for too long, which can actually burn out the adrenal glands, which then will make it harder for you to actually burn body fat after a period of time. So there's nothing wrong with the stimulants if you tolerate them well. Just use them with care and caution. But something that's a non-stimulatory, I'm going to talk about two different things. First of all, there's a compound called phosphatidylserine, which is actually a cortisol blocker. It's been shown in studies to, I believe, about 800 milligrams a day taken post-workout has been shown to lower cortisol levels quite significantly. And cortisol is something that when it's in too high amounts, of course, it does keep you from building muscle as quickly, but also some people don't realize that cortisol can also keep body fat, especially around the midsection. So when cortisol levels are too high, you may find that you have a lot of especially visceral body fat, which means like fat in between the organs, which will push your gut out. So it can prevent you from having that nice flat deep stomach. So that's one of them that you can look into, phosphatidylserine, or just known as PS. And another one that I think is really worthwhile is something called berberine, which is basically from a bark. And berberine has been found to be as effective as a drug known as glucophage or metformin. And that's a drug that a lot of diabetics will take to help regulate blood sugar. And it made its way into the bodybuilding, classic physique scene many years ago. It's being brought back a lot. There are a lot of guys who use insulin. We do know this for contest prep, but especially the classic guys who want to keep their waists really tight and flat, they choose to use metformin or glucophage because it doesn't really have that effect. So it's just what I call, or it's known as, a nutrient partitioning agent. So basically the carbs that you take in will be more pushed towards muscle cells and not towards fat cells. So this has a twofold effect. You can, number one, eat more carbs, which will help you maintain more muscle mass, give you more energy without gaining fat, and also will keep your blood sugar levels more stable, and again will help you to deposit those carbohydrate calories into muscle tissue rather than fat tissue. And berberine is a natural supplement that has been shown milligram for milligram to work just as well as glucophage. And it's something that you can get at most health food stores or online. It's completely natural. And my recommendation would be using it 3 times a day, say with like meals 1, 3, and 5, 500 milligrams each. And that is something that you should find will help you to keep fuller muscles going into a show, better store the carbohydrates into muscles so that there's more glycogen, the muscles are fuller and stronger, and to help you from depositing a lot of carbohydrates, body fat, which might allow you to eat more carbohydrates, or at least use the carbohydrates optimally that you are taking in. So berberine is something that I would definitely look into if you're getting ready for a show this year. All right, so another question kind of relates to the first question, in a way, because I was talking about stimulants, and it's about caffeine. And somebody asked, how much caffeine is too much, and one doesn't become detrimental to overall health. We all know that this is an age of coffee drinkers. We all drink tons of coffee. We need to get up in the morning, but then there's also tons of energy drinks out there that contain caffeine, and then on top of it, there's pre-workout supplements, there's fat burners. There's so many different things that contain caffeine, and a lot of times people don't understand that they're actually taking in way more caffeine than they think they are. Generally, most studies show that pre-training using 400 to 600 milligrams of caffeine is pretty much an optimal dose, and I don't really think that anybody should go higher than that in one shot. Now, this again is not a blanket statement, because there are some people who I personally don't handle stimulants that well as some people. I know girls who weigh half what I weigh, and they could take twice as much caffeine as me, and I get more jittery from it, more anxious and nervous from it, so I have to watch it. So for me, maybe a 200 to 300 milligram dose is good for me. But another thing you have to watch is, how much you're taking during the day. If you're drinking a couple of cups of coffee in the morning, you might be getting 200 milligrams. You're taking a fat burner, you might be getting another 200 milligrams. You're taking a pre-workout, some of them contain 300-400 milligrams. Then you're drinking some of the energy drinks that are out there that contain another 100, 200. So you have to really watch. I don't think that if you're going past 800 to 1,000 milligrams a day, I don't really think you're going to necessarily affect your health, unless of course you take so much in one dose that you get heart palpitations, or you're affecting your heart. That's possible. But I think that once you're taking in too much caffeine for a day, your body's just going to completely desensitize to it. So if you don't cycle your caffeine intake or watch your caffeine intake, I don't think you're going to really get the performance enhancing benefits nor the fat burning benefits that caffeine offers. So I think that it's important for us all to watch our caffeine intake, regulate it so that we're not taking in more than maybe 600, 800 per day for sure, and that perhaps it's something that you cycle off every 8 to 12 weeks, maybe for a couple weeks, try to take off from caffeine and let your body resensitize to it. Otherwise you can burn out the adrenals again, you can tire them out, you'll lose the effects of it, and then you won't really, because a lot of people will actually say to me, hey, I was taking this pre-workout and it was working great for the first couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden I didn't feel it anymore. That's usually from getting desensitized to too much caffeine and some of the other stimulants. So again, this is something, a product, a compound that you want to cycle. Don't overtake, and watch your health. Don't take too much in one dose, or you could end up in the hospital, and that's something that none of us want for sure.